The conduction of electrical current through the metals have been explained by the Drude and Lorentz theory or free electron theory. This theory could also explain the fact that the electrical resistance of the metals decreases when they cooled, since the thermal vibrations of positive ion cores about their mean position will decrease with decrease in temperature, which makes the scattering of conduction electrons by lattice less frequent. The decrease of resistance is found to be linear up to a temperature equal to 1/3 of characteristic Debye temperature of the metal. But below this, the resistance decreases quite slowly, as shown in given graph. But some metals shows unusual and very remarkable behavior when they cool below certain temperature. They lose all of its electrical resistance below certain temperature. Then these materials are said to be entered in a superconducting state. This phenomena is known as superconductivity. The phenomena of superconductivity was first discovered by H. Kamerlingh Onnes in 1911 as a result of his investigations leading to the liquefaction of helium gas, and then while investigating the electrical conductivity of the metals at liquid helium temperature. When he was performing the experiment with mercury, he observed that the electrical resistance of mercury decreases continuously from its melting point to 4.2 Kelvin temperature, and then decrease of temperature by a very small fraction of a degree, resistance suddenly dropped to the millionth of its original value, as shown in the given graph. In Onnes' time, superconductors were simple metals like mercury, lead, bismuth, etc. These elements become superconductors only at very low temperature of liquid helium. During the 75 years that followed, great strides were made in the understanding how superconductors work. Over that time, various alloys were found that were superconductors at somewhat higher temperatures. Unfortunately, none of these alloy superconductors work at temperature much more than 23 Kelvin. Thus, liquid helium remained the only convenient refrigerant that could be employed with these superconductors. Then in 1986, the researchers at an IBM laboratory in Switzerland discovered that ceramics from a class of materials called perovskites were superconductors at a temperature of about 35 Kelvin. This event sparked great excitement in the world of physics and earned the Swiss scientist a Nobel Prize in 1987. As a result of this breakthrough, scientists began to examine the various perovskite materials very carefully. In the month of February of 1987, a perovskite ceramic material was found that was a superconductor at 90 Kelvin. This was very significant because now it became possible to use liquid nitrogen as the refrigerant. Since these materials superconduct at significantly higher temperature. They are called high temperature superconductors or high TC superconductors. There are several advantages in using liquid nitrogen instead of liquid helium. Firstly, the 77 Kelvin temperature of liquid nitrogen is far easier to attain and maintain also than the 4.2 Kelvin of liquid helium. Secondly, liquid nitrogen has a much greater capacity to keep things cold than does liquid helium, and most importantly, the nitrogen constitutes 78% of the air we breathe, and thus unlike liquid helium, for which there are only few limited sources, it is relatively much cheaper. One more interesting feature exhibited by the material in superconducting state is its perfect diamagnetism. That is, this material expels all the magnetic flux passing through it when they become superconductor. This effect was first observed by Meissner in 1933, hence it is known as Meissner effect. Let us now explain the Meissner effect with this figure. Suppose if we have a normal conductor, if it is kept in a magnetic field, then it allows the magnetic flux to pass through it. Now if it is cooled below its critical temperature, then it will expel the magnetic lines of force through it. If we remove the magnetic field, it remains a superconductor. Such a flux exclusion is also observed if the superconductor first cool below its critical temperature and then placed in magnetic field. This can also be explained using this figure. Let's have a normal conductor. It is cooled below its critical temperature, it becomes superconductor, and now it is kept in a magnetic field. So you can see the magnetic flux is expelled by the superconducting material. Now if it is removed, then it remains in a superconducting state. In 1913, Owens himself observed that superconductors regains its normal conducting state below its critical temperature if it is placed in sufficiently strong magnetic field. The value of magnetic field at which superconductivity vanishes is called critical field. It is of the order of few hundred oersted for most of pure superconductors. The variation of critical field with temperature for lead is as shown in the given figure. It can be seen that at 0 Kelvin temperature, critical field is maximum, and then as temperature increases, the critical field will decrease and become 0 at the critical temperature of the superconductor. The relation between critical field and critical temperature is expressed by the relation Hc equal to Hc at 0 Kelvin into 1 minus T square divided by Tc square. Thus, At critical temperature, the critical field Hc will be 0. The superconducting materials are classified into two types, that is type 1 and type 2 superconductors. So let's first see what are the type 1 superconductor. The superconductors which strictly follow the Meissner effect are called type 1 superconductors. The typical magnetic behavior for a type 1 superconductor is shown in figure. In the figure, the diamagnetism or negative magnetization of the type 1 superconductor is plotted against the magnetic field. So it can be seen that as the magnetic field increases, the diamagnetism of the type 1 superconductor also increases up to certain value of magnetic field called as critical magnetic field. For most of the superconducting materials, it is of the order of 0.1 Tesla. As the magnetic field increases beyond critical field, the field penetrates material completely and the material suddenly returns to their normal conducting state. The type 1 superconductors become normal conductors at relatively lower field strengths, and hence they are called soft superconductor. These materials have very limited technical application because of its low critical field value. Let's now see what are type 2 superconductors. These superconductors do not follow Meissner effect strictly, that is, the magnetic field does not penetrate these materials abruptly at the critical field as in case of type 1 superconductor. The typical magnetization curve for lead bismuth alloy is shown in figure. It shows from the curve that for field less than Hc1, the material exhibits perfect diamagnetism and no flux penetration takes place. Thus, for the field less than Hc1, the material exists in superconducting state. As the field exceeds Hc1, the flux begins to penetrate the specimen, and for the field greater than Hc2, the complete penetration occurs and the material becomes a normal conductor. The fields Hc1 and Hc2 are respectively called the lower and upper critical fields. The region between Hc1 and Hc2 is called intermediate or mixed or vortex state, which is complicated distribution of superconducting and normal conducting states. The type 2 superconductors become normal conductors at relatively large field strengths, and hence they are called hard superconductors. Lead bismuth alloy have the values of Hc1 and Hc2 are about 20 into 10 to the power 3 ampere per meter and 100 into 10 to the power 3 ampere per meter respectively. F London and H London describe the Meissner effect and zero resistivity of superconductor using Maxwell's electromagnetic equations by adding the conditions of zero electric field and zero magnetic field inside the superconductors. The equation leads to the conclusion that applied field does not drop to zero at the surface of superconductor but decays exponentially according to the following equation. H equal to H0 exponential of minus x by lambda, where H0 is the value of magnetic field at the surface and lambda is the distance for H to fall from H0 to H0 by E. It is known as penetration depth. The values of penetration depth for the superconductors are temperature dependent. Now let's define the critical currents for the superconductors. The magnetic field which causes a superconductor to become normal conductor need not necessarily by an external applied field. It may arise as a result of electric current flow in the conductor. The minimum current that can be passed in a sample without destroying its superconductivity is called critical current. If the wire of radius r of a type 1 superconductor carrying current I, then there is a surface magnetic field given by Hi equal to I divided by 2 pi r associated with current. Thus, if the Hi exceeds Hc, that is critical field, the material will go to normal conducting state. Isotope effect in superconductors. It has been observed that the critical temperature of superconductors varies with their isotopic mass. Maxwell found that in case of mercury, the critical temperature varies from 4.185 Kelvin to 4.416 Kelvin, as my isotopic mass M varies from 199.5 to 203.4. For most of the cases, the critical temperature Tc is equal to isotopic mass M raised to the power minus beta, where beta is a constant equal to 0.5. This relation is valid. These arguments tells the dependence of the formation of the superconducting phase of the electron can be only through the electron-phonon interaction or electron lattice electron interaction.